Hello and welcome. My name is Ian Su. I'm your host for Bhakti Yoga Talk Show.
Hi, my name is Lyselle and I'm co-host today.
And I'm Jai Govindadas, and I've been invited here to be part of this program.
Yes, today we're going to talk about Bhakti Yoga. On the market, you're going to see a lot of different kinds of yoga. For example, there's this Bikram Hatha Yoga. For example, there's this yoga with different body posture. There's yoga with just meditation in the mountain. And
ecstatic dance yoga.
yeah, there's all kinds of different yoga. And today we want to focus on Bhakti Yoga, which is kind of chanting yoga, devotional yoga. That first of all, we have to identify what is yoga.
Well, yoga actually means to yoke or to link. And the idea is to, first of all, understand, if you go through the different phases of yoga, you can actually understand you're not this temporary body, but you're actually the driver, the soul. And the purpose of yoga is to link the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. And the individual soul is a person, a spiritual person, not this body, but a spiritual person. And the Supreme Being is also a person. So Bhakti Yoga means to link the individual soul, with the Supreme Soul in an act of loving exchange, which is Bhakti, devotion.
Lyselle, what kind of yoga you've done before?
Well, I've done hot Bikram yoga, I've done ecstatic dance yoga, yin yoga, and I've also got a chance to try a little bit of this yoga, but I'm very new in it, so I'll be asking a lot of questions. Yes.
Basically, yoga is yourself in union with the divine.
Yes, basically that's what yoga is. When we undergo Hatha Yoga, for instance, Hatha Yoga is one of an eightfold process of yoga. Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga means eightfold. And Hatha is the exercise part. Then included with that is pranayama, or the breathing. Then there's meditation, concentration, and ultimately samadhi. There's yama and niyama. Those are the beginning parts. Accepting things favorable, rejecting things unfavorable. And when you undergo Hatha Yoga, automatically your body starts to give up things that are not conducive for your well-being, and accepting things. Often the diet changes from, let's say, a meat-eating diet to a vegetarian diet just by practicing Hatha Yoga. But that's not the ultimate objective. That's just a means of one of the rungs on what is called the yogic ladder.
Myself, I've tried many different kinds of yoga too. And after I read Steve Jobs' biography, first he talked about the Hare Krishna temple. You can have a great meal Sunday evening. And then in his biography, he talked about how wonderful the India is. So I actually went to India. And in India, I met a Krishna devotee, and she brought me to the Krishna temple. And that's the first time I encountered Bhakti Yoga. Because I went to India, I was like, okay, I have to take some yoga class, because spirituality is all yoga, so I took some yoga class. But somehow I ended up in a Krishna temple, and this person was talking to me about Bhakti Yoga. And at that time I was like, oh, what is this Bhakti Yoga? It's no exercise. Because yoga, I want to get into the posture. So how is Bhakti Yoga different from, let's say, Hatha Yoga or the physical form yoga?
Again, we have to go to the definition of yoga and our identity of who we are. Every living entity, there's three characteristics. One is we're permanent, we're eternal. Two is that we're enjoyers. And the third, Anandamaya Vyasa, we're enjoyers. And the third is that we are servants. We're servants. Everybody is a servant. Every living entity is a servant. You serve your wife, you serve your husband, you serve your family, you serve your teacher, you serve your boss, if you're not this body, you serve the body. If we don't have anybody else or anything else, then we'll get a pet and serve the pet. That's the nature of the soul. But we're also enjoyers, and we're eternal. The body is always changing from childhood to youth to old age, but we remain. We're the same person. Outlook on life changes, but we're the same person. So, as a servant, the ultimate service, and the reason we're actually created, is to engage in service to the Supreme Being, or God. We say Krishna. That's the name of God. And when we engage in that service, we actually feel real satisfaction. To be as simple an example, the hand is part of the whole. If the hand is in its proper constitution and feeds the whole, puts the food in the mouth, then the hand is serving the whole, and it's in its right position, and it's nicely nourished and healthy. But at the same time, if the hand wants to be independent of the whole, and not serve the whole, serve the Supreme Being, then it can try to enjoy, but it won't get any nourishment, it won't get any satisfaction, and it'll only become diseased. So one of the symptoms of the disease is that identifying with this body is actually a diseased condition. It's what we call the skin disease, because we think this is who we are, this skin is who we are. So it's actually a diseased condition. But if we engage in Bhakti Yoga, which there are 9 processes, then we gradually get our nourishment, we get our strength back, and we get an understanding of our real identity.
So the Bhakti Yoga is 24/7.
Yes, even when you sleep, well, we don't actually, in Krishna consciousness, we don't say sleep, we say rest. We rest the body. And everything we do, we do it with Krishna in mind. We have to eat, so instead of just eating for ourselves, we think of feeding Krishna. We offer to Krishna. If we have work, we have to go and do our work. We maintain our house. We don't think it's our house. We think it's Krishna's place. And this way, everything is Krishna's, and everything we do eventually becomes. Of course, that stage is an advanced stage to be fully Krishna conscious, but that's the objective. And the more Krishna conscious you become, the more satisfied. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul is never destroyed.
So from my understanding, to get into the Bhakti Yoga, you have to do the chanting all the time.
Chanting is...
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Lama, 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 Hare Hare. You have to do that 24/7?
Well, the chanting is particularly recommended for this age, and a specific number for the day with focused chanting is recommended. It purifies the consciousness, it purifies the heart. Right now the consciousness has been conditioned by so many conditionings, that I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm young, I'm old, I'm American, I'm Canadian, I'm black, I'm white. These are all just temporary designations. So the strongest medicine for this age is the chanting, chanting of the names of God, and it purifies the heart.
I have the beads with me. So when you chant, you just go Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Lama, Lama, Hare Hare, then you move one, and then you do another run, you move one. You just go through this.
Yes.
Yeah.
The idea, of course, is when you're chanting is to meditate on the sound and try to pronounce it clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get more practice, you can go quicker.
Mm-hmm.
The more you can focus, the better. It's a very powerful aspect of Bhakti Yoga, and it's the prescribed method for this particular age.
So what is the difference between, say, someone was chanting love, love, love repeatedly, or Hare Krishna repeatedly?
The sound vibration of Hare Krishna is a transcendental sound. It's not a material sound. Whereas the sound of the word love, it's a material sound. And the difference between a material sound and a spiritual sound, or transcendental sound, is that the sound is separate from the object. So when you're chanting love, 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 you don't experience love. But when you chant Hare Krishna, because Krishna and Krishna's name are non-different, you experience Krishna. Another example we like to use is the sound of water. The sound water and the water are separate. If you're in the desert and you're chanting water, you've been in there for a while, you're not going to quench your thirst. But when you chant the name of Krishna, or any of God's names, bona fide names, Nam Namakari Bhavana Nija Sarvashakti, he has many thousands of names, and in each one of his names are all his transcendental energies are present. So when you chant his name, that energy is present in his name.
It's the sound vibration, right? You can sing any song, but when you sing Hare Krishna, it's a vibration of the divine. It's devotional song versus just regular song. It's a devotional chant, rather than just a regular chant. And the devotional sound vibration will transcend your material body.
And the word God, is it also a material vibration? Or?
Well, God is a generic name. There are different names and different potencies. In one sense, they're separated, different potencies. There's primary names and secondary names. God is a secondary name. Just like a judge in the court, he's known as Your Honor. But that same person, if he goes home, he's called by his first name, by his family members. So the first name has more potency and more effect. And Your Honor has more of a, broad, vague understanding of the person. So God gives you a vague understanding. We know God is the supreme being, the one without a second. But Krishna is a person who is also God. And so the name Krishna has more potency. Just like when the son and the little baby, the daughter or the son, daddy comes home and they say, they have a pet name for daddy. That has more effect on his heart than when he's in the courtroom in a more reverential mood, addressed as Your Honor.
So can I ask about who Krishna was, or should we just kind of have it Bhakti Yoga?
Well, that's included.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Krishna is the objective.
I think God is inside our heart. We're part of it. At the same time, the devil is also inside our heart, right? By transcending our body through mantra and through our devotional service to the community, that God sort of coming out from us.
You're right. God is situated in the heart. And the devil, so to speak, Maya, it's situated in the mind, in the intelligence, in the senses, and it kind of interrupts our understanding of who we are and who God is. But just as God is situated in the heart, this is known as Paramatma, the super soul within the heart. It is situated in everyone's heart. All species, all 8,400,000 species, the super soul is present in all those species. The individual soul is there, and the super soul, or Paramatma, is there also. So, but that super soul, that Paramatma, is actually an expansion of Krishna, the person.
And who was Krishna?
Krishna is, was, and always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is God. God is a person. He has a form. He has a personal form. But unlike our form, which is material, and which is subject to temporality, subject to ignorance, and ultimately decay, God's form is spiritual. So his form is Sat, it's eternal, Chit, full of knowledge, and Ananda, full of bliss. Whereas our form, the material form, is Asa, temporary, full of ignorance, because we think this is who we are, and full of misery.
So Krishna is our super soul.
An expansion of Krishna is the super soul. A simple example is you have the sun, and then you have the sunshine. That sunshine can reflect in different, all sources of, let's say, reflected objects. You have some buckets with water, the sun will reflect. The sun is in all of those buckets, but at the same time, it's present in the sky. So Krishna is always present in the spiritual world, and he expands himself through his rays, for lack of a better term, into each and everyone's heart.
And Krishna is in this book. This is the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna.
On this subject matter, yes.
Yes. And for a long time, I couldn't understand what's Hare Krishna. I only know, oh, the Sunday feast tastes so good, and I know how to chant, but I feel, oh, it's a waste of time, right? But one day I came to read this class, and once I read this book, I'm like, oh, I understand now. I feel like I'm the Arjuna going to battlefield, fighting with my own brothers, sisters, and then feeling confused. Why am I getting in this trouble? And then there's the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. So we have to go into the battle to fulfill our service and our destiny. But instead of using your head, using your heart, using your Krishna consciousness to service whatever you are doing. You may be bartending, you may be selling flowers, you may be selling camera in London Drive, or maybe like me, I'm yelling and screaming selling real estate. But this time I'm going back to the battle, but with Krishna consciousness.
Yes, actually, we hear this word renunciant. A real renunciant isn't somebody who just gives up everything and goes to the forest or goes to the Himalayas. That's not the real renunciant. The real renunciant is someone who performs his duty as he's obligated. And according to one's social and spiritual position in society, they have different duties. For instance, a student, their duty is to study. Ultimately, they should study spiritual, study the real science of who they are, along with academics. And then you have others who are married, they have family, they have children, they have to maintain their family, maintain their children. So they do that, that's their responsibility. Then you have those who are in the renounced order. And in the renounced order doesn't necessarily mean, just being concerned about your own well-being, but you're concerned about everybody's well-being. So you come and give others that most valuable substance of Krishna consciousness. So depending on one's position, if one does it, but he's detached from the results, that's a real yogi. That's a real mystic.
Yeah, it says in the book, very important, that we have to detach from the fruit of our work. And when we can achieve that while servicing the public, doing our work, right? Then we achieve a very good Krishna conscious mind.
Selfless service. Ultimately.
Selfless service, the ultimate selfless service is actually service to Krishna. Because most philanthropic work the result is only temporary. But if you can give somebody Krishna consciousness, that will solve all their problems permanently. Because ultimately, when one realizes that they're eternal, they actually don't belong in the material world. And if you help them understand that, then they don't have to worry about whether they're impoverished or whether they're illiterate or whatever other form of philanthropic work that they general society may put. They don't have to worry, because Krishna consciousness frees one from all those things, from disease, old age, and death, and rebirth.
So Krishna consciousness and Christ consciousness or Buddha consciousness, are they all the same?
Actually, interesting, Krishna, the term Krishna or Christ, it comes from the Greek word Christos, meaning the anointed one. And the Greek word Christos comes from the Sanskrit word Krista or Krishna, meaning the all-attractive one. So you have Jesus Christ. Jesus, and the name of his father is Christ, Christos or Krishna. And according to the time, according to the place, according to the circumstance, the teacher will come, Krishna will come, or one of his representatives, one of his avatars will come and give knowledge that the audience or the atmosphere is ready to understand and accept. Just like a kindergarten teacher has a degree in teaching at a university, but she only teaches according to the level of the students. So in the same way, God's representative or Krishna himself comes in different incarnations and teaches according to the time, according to the place, according to the circumstances. So in essence, the ultimate aim is the same.
Yes. Looks like we're running out of time, so we have do a quick summarize. Bhakti Yoga is wonderful. We should do the chanting. We should read in the Bhagavad Gita.
There are many editions of Bhagavad Gita. I'd just like to make the last point. What we recommend, of course, is Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because there's certain things, what Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, that most persons who translate, they don't actually have the full criteria. First criteria is Bhakti Amam Abhijanati. Unless one is Krishna's devotee, Krishna says, only my devotee can understand. So one's a devotee, not a devotee, can't actually understand Krishna. 2, he also says in the 4th chapter, Evam Param Praptam, Imam Rajarshiva Vidu, that this knowledge is coming from a disciplic succession, from a professor or guru to the student.
Lineage.
Yeah. And Bhaktivedanta Swami is coming in that lineage, going all the way back to Lord Brahma and ultimately Krishna. So those are 2 criteria. And the 3rd criteria is people who actually study this Bhagavad Gita understand their actual position and their actual real identity, and engage in the process. It's not just an armchair philosophy, but it's an actual hands-on action. Action in Krishna consciousness.
And Lucille, you have last word to say to our audience?
I've tried Bhakti Yoga for the first time a couple of days ago, and I felt somehow, yes, chanting Hare Krishna for a couple hours, somehow I felt very peaceful and very calming, a sense of this a very harmonized energy that came over my body that I couldn't really describe in words. So I will continue to practice Bhakti Yoga because I feel like it is really beneficial so far, just participating in a couple of hours in it. So,
Wonderful.
Yes.
There's no loss or diminution. Even just a little bit will always be with you from one life to the next. We never lose. Whatever investment we make in spiritual life, it's never lost. But whatever investment we make materially at the end of this body, it's lost. But spiritually, it goes from one life to the next to the next. We never lose it. Our bank account always keeps getting more and more.
And remember, every day there will be something bothering you. You just begin your chant and quickly all the stuff, negative energy is going to vaporize in the thin air. Until next time, keep on chanting. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.